Hello everyone, I'm Ishani, and as a design team member for CrafTangles, today I have 3 easy cards featuring a gorgeous floral stamp set by CrafTangles called Hello Lovely. This stamp set has been illustrated by a dear friend and a great artist, S. Radhika. This set has 2 lotuses with lovely everyday sentiments like have a beautiful day, love you always, and hello lovely. Lotus as a flower is considered sacred, auspicious, and symbolic of good luck. So many occasions to use this gorgeous flower for. For the first card, I'm using Strathmore Bristol paper and stamping my lotus with the help of a stamping platform. You can use acrylic block for the same. I prepped the surface with an anti-static powder tool that I've made myself. I have another tool, but I somehow like how my DIY tool covers the whole area quickly. I wanted to heat emboss the flowers, so I use Versamark for stamping and emboss my flowers with the white embossing powder. I'm using Superfine Detail white embossing powder by Ranger. Then I heat my heat gun for a few seconds and I use it for embossing the flowers. All the products being used are added in the description box below. The reason for choosing Strathmore Bristol paper was because I wanted to color the flowers with my Zig Clean color brush pens. I use various blues and violets, namely cobalt blue, Persian blue, blue, deep violet, and violet. I use a 0 number brush with water for the transition from dark to light on my petals. After I was happy with the coloring of the flowers, I cut them just outside the white embossed lines. I'm using Tim Holtz non-stick micro serrated scissors and I absolutely love it for doing fussy cutting. So as you see, I rotate the paper and not my blade, and that gives me a fine cut along the edge. I am a huge fan of CrafTangles cardstocks, and I use classic smooth white 300 GSM as my A2 size top folding note card, on which I will place the front panel in midnight black 250 GSM. I took the black cardstock and cut it at the bottom and took off around a little more than half an inch for creating a window for my sentiment. I use Congratulations from the stamp set by CrafTangles from all of us. It is one of the most used stamp sets I own. I make the place to stamp the sentiment and I stamp it with Memento Tuxedo black ink. I also emboss it with clear embossing powder. That is where it struck me that if I clear emboss the flowers on my black cardstock, it would give a lot of interest. I placed the lotus stamp on my black cardstock where there would be empty space and embossed it with Ranger Clear embossing powder. Then I stuck the black panel with the help of 3-dimensional foam tape and arranged the flowers and stuck them with the same tape and also with glue. To add some bling, I use clear shimmer sequins by CrafTangles and adhere them with glossy accents. I love how this card turned out with the clear embossing showing through on the black cardstock and adding some sheen. I hope you like it too. The next card showcases a technique which is a very easy way of getting color on your card and also give it a grand look. This card uses a technique which is similar to watercoloring. So I'm using Canson Montoile 300 GSM watercolor paper. I take various distress inks to color my flowers. I have a non-stick craft mat and I smooshed distress inks in festive berries, picked raspberry, spice marmalade and squeezed lemonade colors. I spritz some water on the inks and press the watercolor paper which I have cut in the size that will be sufficient for my stamped images. I repeat the process until I'm happy with the colors on the watercolor paper. I keep using heat gun to dry the layers of colors in between. Then I take A2 size top folding note card of 270 GSM iris cardstock and glimmer paste and gold dust. I'm using a stencil called Triangles for stenciling the glimmer paste. I put the stencil in the form of a triangle in the lower side of the cardstock and secure it with the washi tape. After the stenciling was done, I stamped my lotus image with Versamark and embossed it with fine gold embossing powder. Then I color the stems of my flowers with the clean color brush pens and start cutting around the gold edge with my Tim Holtz micro serrated scissors. For my sentiment, I chose Happy Diwali, which is from the same set that I have used in my previous card called From All of Us by CrafTangles. I gold heat embossed it on a black strip of cardstock and adhered my lotus and the buds with the help of glue and mounted the sentiment on a 3D foam tape for a little more dimension. I hope you like how a little gold and colors have made this card more festive and bright and would be perfect for sending across to your loved ones for Diwali. The third and the last card is a very simple and a quick card. The technique that I'm using here is ink blending and masking. I took the masking paper by CrafTangles, which is not very tacky, and I love this thing about their masking paper. I stamped the two lotuses on the masking paper, and because I don't plan to have many of the flowers on my card, maybe 4 to 5, I just take two stamped images and cut it along the edge of the flower. So I'm cutting on the edge of the flower for the masking purpose. The masking paper can easily be released and I will take it off when I'm stamping on the layers of flowers. I take iris paper in 270 GSM, which is of the dimension 6 inches by 3 inches for the portion of the card that will have my flowers. I prepare my surface with anti-static powder as I will be clear embossing the stamped images. I use Memento Tuxedo black ink for stamping and clear embossing powder by Ranger for embossing and sealing my black ink in. I take off the mask of one of the lotus because now I want to stamp the other flower. As I do this, you will notice that when I stamp the second flower, it will appear that it is behind the first flower. This is masking. I heat emboss the flowers with clear embossing powder again and repeat the same thing until I'm happy with the bunch of flowers on my card. I take two blue-green inks by Altenew in Volcano Lake and Mountain Mist. You can use any inks which you use for blending for this purpose. I use the lighter color, which is Mountain Mist, outside the petals, and I use the darker color for the center part, depicting more darker and the shadow area. I took my time for blending until I was happy, alternating between the colors for perfect blend. And as you watch me blending, let me tell you about the two papers I really feel are amazing for blending. The one I'm using is Iris cardstock by CrafTangles, and the other is again from CrafTangles. It is called dual textured white cardstock. I may not be able to tell you the difference of the color, but for understanding purpose, the Iris paper is towards the ivory color and the dual texture is a bright white color with the tinge of blue to it. The other cool thing about the dual texture paper is that the rough area is amazing for ink blending and the smooth area can be utilized for stamping. So both sides of the paper are useful. I many times use it just as the base of my card because of that plain magazine-like feel to the smooth side of that paper. After the blending was done, I cut the flowers out along the edge. I use Earl Grey cardstock for the base of my card, which is of the dimension 7 inches by 4.5 inches. I mark the center of the card where I would stamp my sentiment on your birthday, which are two separate stamps, and I combine it with the help of my stamping tool. I stamp it and clear emboss it for a nice sheen on the sentiment. Then for assembling my card, I use 3D foam tape and adhere it behind my lotus cutout. I let the flowers fall outside the lines. Then I take the floral panel and add strong double-sided tape on the Earl Grey cardstock and arrange it. To mimic the look of the dewdrops on the petals of lotus, I use these dewdrops and adhere them with glossy accents. I hope you like this quick and simple card which can be customized for any occasion. The Lotus stamp set is so versatile you can use it for any kind of card. I hope you like my take and the 3 cards I shared with you. All the products which have been used are given in the description box below. And in case of any queries, please comment below. We would love to get back to you. Thank you for watching. Have a great week ahead and happy creating.